No. Like, women have this inbuilt thing where they're attracted to men who other women are attracted to.
Sure. Okay.
And this is in relation to power. So let's talk about the two different things that men and women are like hardcore triggered attraction to. Okay, because men are attracted to beauty. That's it. Beauty, femininity, a woman being unburdened, not having like lots of problems and all that stuff, drama, whatever. Like, not interested. Like, girls who are feminine, submissive, beautiful, young, fertile. That's how men function, right? And like, all men would agree with that. Like, if I masculine men, okay, feminine men, you know, they kind of border towards bisexuality, but masculine men, that's what they're looking for. And why is masculine men so important is because women are attracted to masculine men. That's how they're triggered. Even if they're masculine, they still are sexually attracted to a man that has more power than they do. Like, they want someone who's better at them in terms of making money, taller than them, more handsome than them, everything. They want someone with more power. And so what I've seen is that I've had this experience just like you as well, where I had a girlfriend. We didn't get engaged, but there was a lot of talk about marriage. I was really chasing to get married as a 21-year-old virgin. I don't know if you remember that, but we talked about marriage a lot. She was amazing. She was 19 years old, but she just wasn't ready. So she basically broke it off. And then 6 months later, her best friend started talking to me. So we ended up dating the best friend. And then my ex-girlfriend at that time, she was like, you know what? I don't want to stand in the way of love for you guys, to go for it, you know? So we had her blessing in a sense. And we got engaged. So I got engaged with that girl. And then what ended up happening is that she dumped me, but my ex-girlfriend came back. So there was a lot of things going back and forth in terms of, I'm attracted to you, and really that's why my girl, like my best friend, is also attracted to you. Because women, they build guys up when they talk to each other. They're like, oh, I love him so much, and he's so amazing, and blah, blah, blah. And that increases the power of the man. Does that make sense? Which will immediately turn the other woman on, because she personalizes it. And so,
can you say that last part again one more time about her personalizing it? What do you mean by that?
Women personalize what is going on. How can I say this? Women are very in tune with their emotions, and they can feel things according to what they see happening. So for example, when they watch a movie, they watch a romance thing, they get really into it, and it's as if it is real. In their brains, it's like, this is real, but of course it's not real. It's just acting and the storyline and music and all that stuff. But emotionally, she starts crying because she's personalizing it. It's as if she is the woman that's in the movie.
So empathy.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Right. And it's the same thing. Like, they made a study where they had like sexual images, and they try to figure out what actually turns women on and stuff like that. And what they noticed is that women were more likely to be turned on by images of other women. And
yeah, I mean, even when I was watching porn, I was turned on by the women, not the men.
Right. And the men, isn't that interesting? Like, doesn't that, like, okay, but in terms of the men very often, when they see another guy, they're not looking, like, they're not interested, they're not erotically stimulated if they're masculine by seeing another man. And women are more so turned on by women, but what they've also noticed is that they were also turned on by bonobos, or whatever it is, like monkeys having sex. So they're like, maybe the women isn't, they're not, their sexuality is just different, and they're attracted to the act itself because they're personalizing it. Not necessarily like sex with monkeys, but you understand what I mean? Like they're turned on by sex in general.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, I think that women in general, their sexuality is more fluid, where they can feel attracted to women and to men. And most of the women I've talked to, not all the women, but most of the women I've talked to who watch porn, who identify as heterosexual, they
Yep.
still say that they were masturbating to the women in the videos and not the men. And
Hmm.
I experience the same thing. But I think that to me that doesn't to me that's not an immediate meaning that women should be in relationships with multiple women and one man, because I think something if like so if I'm watching complete strangers, then sure, that turns me on. If I'm watching another girl with the man who I love, then it turns me off. You know what I mean? But the other
Yeah.
thing too is that I think that porn, it's hard to say because everyone's turned on by different things. Like even in the porn genre, there's certain men who talked to me actually about dealing with fantasies called cuckolding, where
Yeah.
they're in the room watching another man have sex with their wife, and how
Right.
that somehow
Right.
is like a turn on for them, which
Yeah,
I
but
don't
that's
understand.
that's based on their femininity though. It's their bisexuality coming to play. Like the more feminine you are as a man, the more you would like that type of stuff. And porn in general makes you feminine. So it's kind of, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like the further you go into the porn genre of watching porn and being addicted to it, the more feminine you're becoming, meaning you're not accomplishing anything in your life. If you're masculine, you are very aware of property rights, and that's mine. And that's a good thing, because when you have ownership over something, like you feel that it's yours, it belongs to you, you take care of it, and you make sure that it's working, and you nurture it, and you protect and provide, right?
Yeah.
So, but if you're feminine, you're like, I can share. That it's femininity is sharing. Masculinity is not being able to share. Well, like, I mean, that's one of the first things you were taught by your mothers. Like, you need to learn to share. Sharing is important, you know? While guys are like, if it's yours, man, that depends. Do you want to share or do you not want to share? That's what's rational, because you shouldn't be forced to share, because then it's not really sharing.
Sure. Do you think though that because right now, because like I said, it's I have not experienced a desire to be with other women in a relationship. Like I also haven't met any other women who've desired to be in a relationship like you're talking about. So you're, do you feel like you need to, like, do you feel like if this is kind of a natural design, that these desires would come naturally to women to want to be in a marriage that you're talking about? Or do you feel like you are trying to convince women that that's what they want?
No, I mean, everyone's free to do whatever they want to do. I'm completely against the idea of force.
Hmm.
But like I've mentioned in the past, I'm also completely against the idea of having sex outside of a long-term committed relationship.
Right.
So women will go um, where they are appreciated, loved, and led.
Hmm.
If a man sets that standard, then she has to make a decision. Is this what I want, or is this not what I want? Like, so if for example, the guy that you're passionately in love with, if he says, my standard is 3 girls in love, and I don't want anything else, I'm not interested in a monogamous relationship, then she has to make a decision.
Yeah.
And what's and it's a turn on for men, like when a woman wants to share him with others. Like for men, it's like, are you kidding me? Like seriously? Like that's okay, you know? But yeah, that
But so
was
in that situation, would the man be financially providing for all three women?
absolutely all of them.
And
That's part of
whatever
the whole
kids
system.
come from each of the three
All
women?
of it. He has to
How,
provide for everything.
so how would
How
that
do you
work
do
as
that in
a,
this day and age?
what's that?
How do you do that in this day and
Yeah,
age, right? There's
how
like
would someone, how
taxes.
would that, unless you're like the CEO of some kind of company, how would you be doing that?
Well, first of all, having a job stands for just over broke.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's feminine. If you've got a job, most of your money goes to the government every time, no matter if you're paying 30% because there's so many other taxes. Most of the money is going there. So, but if you're a business owner, you actually pay taxes on the profits instead of all of it.
The
Does that make
base.
sense?
Yeah, yeah.
Right. After your expenses. So the key here is to become a business owner. And what I recommend on my Men of High Value channel is don't be involved with women. Stop dating. Like no romantic involvement at all, not so ever, until you've established yourself financially. And that's the goal. Is like you have a full-time job to provide for your needs so you're above water, and then you build a business on the side until you can replace your full-time income and then massively build your business. And once you've come to a certain financial foundation and discipline and masculinity, that's when you begin to look into dating, and not even dating, but courting towards establishing a long-term family.
Got it.
So, but it's a very important part of the 3 girls in love aspect, because it's not going to work if they have to work outside of the home. Like the key here is to develop passive income for them so that they can just enjoy what they want to do when they want to do it with the people that they want to do it with, and be focused more on each other, building their empire together with the man, and creating an amazing next generation, because kids are suffering these days. Like they're neglected from the first moment they are born almost, and they go through childhoods being neglected. I mean, I think most of us can relate to that, being in classrooms of like 30 kids and not being, provided with abundance and understanding what abundance is. Like having so much love and acceptance and so many people investing in you is an amazing thing, I think.
Definitely. Definitely. I mean, do you think that that type of support could not be provided for just by living around your family?
Like grandparents and stuff, you mean?
Yeah, grandparents, aunts, uncles, stuff like that, cousins.
I'm sure, like, it definitely would help. I mean, that's happening less and less these days, though. Like, in
Yeah.
general, people move around all the time. But yeah, if they can be there, that's great. But to have more than one mother who are fully invested in you, I think is would be an amazing thing. Then again, like I highly discourage guys to start this form of lifestyle without understanding the full foundation of my, of the system. There's
Yeah,
like
sure.
there's this huge system around it, and like if you practice this without understanding it, it will cause a lot of heartache for a lot of people. So setting it up right from the beginning and the get-go is critical.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting concept. Is this a concept that's been around for a while, or is this something that you've been thinking about yourself?
This has been based on our research. I mean, me and my wife, we've been happily married for 10 years, but we've also seen the positive, like we've got 3 kids and we started at the age, like I was 23 when we got married, she was 22, and my goal was to get rich before I was 30. That was like there was nothing else. I was like, we're gonna establish this. And but I also wanted to have a family and kids immediately.
Hmm.
So we really took on like the burdens of the world trying to, figure everything out. And so so we've had a lot of, had to tackle a lot of problems throughout that time, which made me focus on relationships and how to make marriage work, because I knew that if the only thing that's a problem is her needs, that was the only problem. I would be massively rich at this point if it wasn't for her needs. However, her needs is not her choice. So it's not her fault, all of the needs that she has, right? She was the problem in a sense, but I was the solution. So we needed to figure that out. And that's why it's been years of research going into this to figure out what actually works. What
So she would
actually
be okay with that then, with sharing you with
she's
2 other women?
this is for her. Like she actually like are passionate, like she's passionate about it to the point of like, hurry up to get me the other 2 girls. Like you're not doing this fast enough, because we're not doing it right now. Like uh, we decided that there needs to be a strong financial foundation. We got 3 kids. So, I got to build myself up to a point where we're actually able to do that. And I don't even qualify according to my criteria.
Well, it seems
So,
like it would be something that you would come into, like most men would probably come into in their late 30s or 40s, I would assume, to build up the income level to support well, 4 people and whatever kids there are, you know?
no, I don't think so. Not in today's world, if they do
Hmm.
it according to our system. And the reason why is because it doesn't take you more than 2 to 5 years to really set something up, as long as you don't have the distraction of women. The problem with men is that they're distracted by women throughout their entire teenage years and in their 20s, until they're like become 30 and they've kind of had enough, and now it's like, I'm not really interested in girls anymore, and now suddenly they're massively coming to them because they're not interested anymore. It's kind of like now they're focused on their careers, and now the women are like, oh, hello, and that suddenly they have power, and guys are like, okay, nice. It's like the first time in their lives that they actually have some sexual market value. While, yeah, so anyway, personally, I say that you can actually, if you didn't have to go to school, like my kids, for example, my oldest son is 9 years old now, and he's homeschooled, right? So from the age of 12, in my opinion, that's when we can kind of tinker, start with business a little bit on the side and build something online, whatever. He's got 6 years to prepare himself financially, full time, if he wants
Yeah.
to prepare himself for that type of lifestyle financially, if he even wants to do that. So that all depends on the guy. Like Mark Zuckerberg was like 24 or whatever when he became a billionaire. So it's like it's it's completely dependent upon your focus
Yeah.
and you staying away from the biggest distraction, which is women.
Well, I'm curious to hear more about your wife's perspective because it's hard for me to think about a setup like that where there's no jealousy or something like that. So how would she what do you think her response would be to you to seeing you be attracted to and affectionate with another woman in front of her, for instance?
Um, the key point is equality. That's really the key point. If she knows she will have her needs met, then she loves it. If she is at any point in time unsure that she will receive her needs met, that's a problem. Does that make sense? So the key point is for the women to love each other, and that comes from them spending, not only choosing each other, but also spending time with each other and enjoying that time. And a very critical aspect of it as well is that the women need to be intimate with each other. It's actually a critical aspect to the whole foundation, because the moment they're not able to be intimate with each other, that's when you know that there's a problem, and women can't fake that very effectively. So like, and this can be seen in porn stars, because porn stars are masculine. No matter how feminine they might look like, they're all masculine because they're burdened. Like, it's just how it is very often. And
It's so
and what
interesting
they
that so the porn stars are feminine, the people who watch them, or no, porn stars are masculine, the people who watch them are feminine.
Absolutely, that's how it works. And the porn stars very often say that, the sex with the guys is actually quite fun, but in terms of the sex with the women, that's the hard part, because it's acting. Like, it's like really fake. You know what I mean? Because they're not really feeling it. Um, and and that's something that in Three Girls in Love, they have to feel it. And if they don't feel it, then we need to work it out. You know what I mean? Like, then it's because they love each other. It's just that they can't be intimate. And the reason why they can't be intimate is because there's something wrong with the relationship. The moment that they fix the relationship, then okay, intimacy can be done again. So this is the only way that you can create the whole unity in the relationship.
So is the premise that women are inherently bisexual?
Yes.
Got it.
That is the premise. Which the more masculine they become, though, the more they lean towards heterosexuality until they lean towards androgyny, or whatever it's called, or polyandry, sorry, where they begin to want to be with several men. So that's a sign of
Okay.
masculinity and burden.
Do you feel like, I mean, is that some like maybe this is too personal of a question to ask, but your wife, does she express those kinds of desires to be intimate as well with other women?
Absolutely.
Okay, interesting.
She's passionate about it. I think, I mean, we spend a lot of time and money on making sure that she gets to be unburdened and feminine. That's been my entire premise of our entire marriage, is like having her as unburdened as possible, which is kind of insane because it doesn't really work like that in monogamy. So I've taken a lot of the brunt of it. But it's made the whole difference for us in our marriage, because like, even though I end up doing a lot of beta stuff, like, I help out a lot in the kitchen, I help out a lot with the kids and all that stuff, so it affects my masculinity. My testosterone will be affected by me doing women things, but the fact that we're unburdening her so much makes her feminine. And the more time she spends with other women, like with friends and stuff like that, the more she feels receptive to my approaches, if that makes sense. Like, the more sexually in tune she is with herself, the more sexually in tune she's with me, because she's feminine. But the more masculine she becomes, the more it's all about, like, the less she's going to be attracted to me, because masculine women are not attracted to feminine men. But that's what happens in all long-term monogamous relationships. So, like, if you think back on your youth, when you were growing up and in your early teenage years, did you notice that you were like bi-curious? Like, were you very intrigued by the women as well? I mean, you've mentioned that you were turned on by when you watch images, that you were looking more at the women than you looked at the men. But
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why it's kind of hard to answer because I don't know how much of my sexuality was influenced by porn because I was watching it for a really long time. So I think a
at
lot
an
of the
early age as
desires.
well.
What's that?
At an early age as well.
Yeah, since like age 7.
Okay, gotcha.
And so for me, I kind of it's hard to tell what desires are truly mine and what desires came from porn, you know?
Right, right.
Yeah.
Do you think that the porn addiction could have affected your uh, being repulsed by other women being with your man? Like, do you think that your burden and your masculinity that has come from your addictions in the past could have affected that?
I don't know because in porn, it seems like they glorify having multiple partners with
Okay.
multiple people. So
Mhm.
I feel like if anything, it should have turned me on to that idea, but maybe not. I don't know. What's your thought process about it? About why porn would possibly repel me from that idea?
Well, the fact that it was an addiction, that's what I'm
Oh,
thinking.
okay. Got it.
Like,
Got
I
it.
mean, any addiction will make you burdened. Um,
Sure. I mean, I think it's just a common theme, you know? It's a common theme that you see where the woman finds out that the husband's having an affair at work and then, she's destroyed by it.
well,
Or
she's repulsed by it as well
yeah.
because it's intense betrayal. And she's also not on an equal standing with the other woman. She doesn't like the other woman. She has no relationship to the other woman. So how could she, like, women are wired for their men to not be unfaithful outside of the realm of the home, if that makes sense. You know
So
what I mean?
you think that the disgust doesn't come from the idea of him being with another woman, but from the betrayal.
Yes. The
Got it.
betrayal and him and the insecurity of what it means. Like, well, what does it mean that he's having sex with someone else? Does that mean he's gonna leave me? Am I like the insecurities that are part of it? It's like this whole ball of emotions are thrown at you all at the same time, which makes it so that you can't handle it. Like, I don't even want to see it. I don't even want to think about it because it's destroying me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Which is a great thing, because if women didn't feel like that, then men would um like, what I always say is that women's emotions is immediate feedback of what he's doing right and what he's doing wrong. So if a woman feels all of these horrific emotions and makes it so that she wants to leave him, or she wants to not have anything to do with him, or she wants, she hates that other woman, whatever it is, then the man is like, okay, I did something really bad here. This should never ever happen again. Do you understand what I mean?
Hmm.
Um, but but I mean, it's based on researching thousands of case studies of what women are attracted to, and what women are attracted to is let's think of it from the point of attraction and desire, because women love that emotion. They love being drawn towards their man. And one of the things that draws a woman faster and closer and more intensely to a man is seeing that other women are interested in him. Not only interested in him, but the fact that he turns them on is a massive turn on. So yeah, that's at least what I've seen.
It's very interesting. I mean, there's definitely truth in what you're saying, but I don't feel it a
What
hundred
what
percent.
is well, what's the truth? Well, like, confirm a little bit.
That I think that there's truth in men or women being turned on when other women are turned on by their man. Or
Hmm.
there's truth in what you said about women not feeling emotionally satisfied 100% by the male partner. And I think there's also truth in the fact that women's sexuality is more fluid. But
Hmm.
but I'm still not convinced that all of those truths inherently mean the setup that you're talking about. But
Right.
but I think that like if everyone is wanting that and is all and everything's all good, like it seems like you and your wife have a very deep understanding of what you want, and it seems like she's really into the idea too, so it could be an awesome setup for people who want that, you know.
Right, right, right. Of course. And like I say, like it's not for everyone, right? Of course, because everyone is at a different stage in their life and in what they're attracted to and whatever. But I believe that like there is massive potential for exponential growth in one's happiness in that type of a setup. Having been married for 10 years and understanding how it's like to live with a woman and experiencing the burdens of what children does to a marriage and to a relationship. It requires a lot, and there simply aren't enough people who have capacity, simply. And the fact that the woman desires the man's time and money, you know, like because that's the huge problem in marriage is like one, the woman is lonely and she doesn't want to do the work all by herself because he's not designed to. And then she wants the man to come home from work because you're too busy. Like you need to come home now and you need to come home now. You know what I mean? Like women are very like, I need this right now. And the guys are like, because she's the one in control and she's the one in control of the sex, if I don't do this, then I'm not going to have any for days or weeks or months. Then I need to take action. And the way he's taking action is then coming home and helping out, but then his business and his money making is going to suffer. So the men are continuously fighting the battle of like, you want me at home, but you also are screaming to me that you want more money when I am at home. If if you want me to make money, then I need to be away. But so it's kind of like this back and forth going on in marriages, which yes, would definitely help if he did have a lot of money, but there's a window of how long a woman can have kids, and so it's a very interesting aspect, and I recommend people to learn more about it. And in terms of you, like this is the first time you've ever heard about this specific concept. Polygamy in general has been like, of course not, you know what I mean? But when you put it in the light of all the things that we've been talking about, then it's like, I haven't thought about it that way. And maybe it deserves a little bit more research, but yeah, it's just a seed planted in everyone's minds of what's possible and what are we naturally wired to do. Because the more in line with nature we are, really, as long as it's not destructive for other people, right? It needs to be a win-win situation. Everyone needs to be free and participate according to their desires. But
I guess
yeah,
the question comes into play is how do you know what a true desire is, what a natural desire is, and what a conditioned desire is? Like, how can you really tell the difference between them? Like, because for me, like that in the past, like I've said in my past relationships, I have felt what in my mind felt like a natural desire for other men. But I think from your perspective, you might argue that that's not a really true desire, and that desire is kind of conditioned because I'm more in touch with masculinity than femininity, right?
right.
So how would you So it's like, how would you tell the difference between whether a desire you're experiencing is natural or unnatural?
Based on burden. So if we look at it from the standpoint of women don't want to have burdens and problems, and if they do want, if there are problems, they want to fix them immediately. Like they're not supposed to be there, type thing. Women have a very strong sense of urgency when it comes to burden. We need to eliminate it now, as fast as possible. And so it's like very now creatures, right? Guys can hang around problems for a long time, not caring. Like, men have this ability.
To
So
drown it all out.
yeah, no, but we don't even think about it. It's like it's not really affecting me emotionally, so I don't care. You know what I mean? But women, everything affects them emotionally very often, so they care, so they have to fix it. So what I'm saying is, if women if women's goal was to be feminine and unburdened, bubbly, excited, joyful, laughing, giggling, not having to think about anything that's difficult or that she doesn't want to do, if that makes sense. The more she goes towards that, the more she'll realize her inherent natural desires. While men love rejection, they love burden as long because it allows them to progress and to develop and to create and to create massive abundance. It's like men are attracted to it. Like I spoke to Richard Harris, he's made a video with Kasumi Chris lately. On the video that we discussed, he was talking about how he's told his girlfriend that I'm thinking about doing this kind of like survival trip in the mountains where we're just gonna have like a massive backpack on our backs and we're just gonna climb over this mountain and basically like be in nature, and it's gonna be a really difficult trip, you know what I mean? And then his girlfriend is like, why would you want to do that to yourself, you know what I mean? And it's kind of, that's how men are wired. They want to do survival stuff. They want to do extreme things to test their limits because they want power. That's how we're wired, to like and desire power. And the reason why is because women are attracted to that. And so we understand that, so that's what we want to go towards. While women are like, they're not attracted, they're attracted to power, but they want to be unburdened at the same time. They don't want to have to worry about war and difficulties and hunger and all of those issues. They don't want to think about that because that burdens them and puts them in survival mode instead of growth mode, if that makes sense. Like they run towards responsibilities when they don't have any responsibilities. Does that make sense? Like if my life is fantastic, I search for opportunities to serve. Like I'm looking for, how can I help? How can I do this? How can I do that? Men aren't wired like that. We're wired towards we have to be put on responsibility. Like we search our responsibility on our own because we want women to be attracted to us and we want abundance. We want freedom, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, like it's like everything you're saying, it makes sense. It like logically it makes sense. It's just the
Right.
actual like application of it that I feel like wouldn't.
It's not real. It's not reality. It's not relevant for most people because it's like how it's so far away. Does that make sense?
Well, to me, it feels like it feels kind of made up or something. Like what you're saying, it all makes sense, you know? But I feel like I could easily create a different structure and rationalize it in a way that makes sense. But it's kind of like what you said, at the end of the day, the thing that works is what makes sense. Like the thing that actually works is what makes sense. Like the truth is what works. And so
Yes.
it's like, but that's the thing, is that I don't see your concept working. because of everyone's desires and emotions, they don't seem to be in alignment with what you're describing, you know?
Right. But if it worked, that would be amazing.
Yeah, sure.
Right. Well, then the key is figuring out why wouldn't it work? Why can't we make it work? Like what's stopping us? And I mean the whole key is figuring out female sexuality. That's really where it's at. Because the more the woman is attracted to her man, the longer she's gonna stay with him. The reason
Well,
why
that's
women
kind of
leave.
that. Well, that's kind of what I was saying is that I lose attraction for a man from the idea of him being with another woman, you know? Like for me to stay attracted to a man, I would feel like it would need to be monogamous.
But then again, it's we're not talking specifically about you either. It's just in
In general,
general,
right?
in general, women are not on board with this type of concept. That's just a fact. In general, women are like, I mean, since I started promoting this on my Girls of High Value channel, my subscriptions have gone down, of course. But I knew that. Um,
Well, there's not a
and
lot of
and
men who would want that either. Like, there's not a lot of men who even agree with the idea of being the sole financial provider for one woman, let alone three women, you know?
well, you know what? If they understood the concept, okay, understanding from man's point of view, I made a video called "What Do Men Actually Want?" High value men, okay? Because that what feminine guys want, that's irrelevant. Who cares what feminine guys want? Because no one wants them anyway, right?
You're
That's the
so
whole
blunt.
point. But it's true. It's sexual market value. That's where it's at. So and women don't want to be with low value men. It's a given. So what matters is what high value men desire, and we have to come to the point where we accept that, and where high value men actually take a stance and say, this is what I want. Not only that, but without the involvement of the government, which is another thing, because the system that I'm talking about, if people get married to each other, it's illegal. So you can't, it doesn't work if you involve the government into it. Maybe in the future, sometime, because of the LGBT community, we actually will make that kind of lifestyle legal or decriminalized in the future again, right? But so it's a positive thing with feminism. It's a positive thing with LGBTQ because that makes those things possible in the future. In the 200 years ago, this would not have worked. 100 years ago, this would not have worked, right? But because this evolution, we're continuously progressing towards that which works in the long run in the big scheme of things. And high value men, one of the top things they desire, but that's against religious and social stigma, is multiple women. All of them do. You can ask any man, any that is relatively masculine, high value guy, if you could have multiple women, would you be motivated to provide and to protect for them if they were loyal and, creating a long-term committed situation? All of them would say, man, sign me up. I'm fired up. Let's keep going. You know what I mean? And that's fulfilling potential.
But don't you think that if a man is having sex with three women, that's inherently going to reduce his creative drive to put towards his work and provide?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Guys who have sex with multiple girls, as long as it doesn't, like, if they're feminine, they'll want to have sex all the time. But the fact is that women are attracted to a man with purpose, meaning a guy who's not always into sex and not always into her. So she wants a guy who has purpose and drive to create something amazing. And high value men have that. They have a purpose. They want to make the world a better place. They want to create abundance. They want to create a huge business empire of their own. And having three women instead of one would massively propel that because they actually take care of each other and they take care of the kids. And he doesn't have to worry that there's problems. But if there are problems, he's immediately there and can help sort out the situation until it's fixed. If that makes sense. Like it's guys creatively, like their creativity would go through the roof. Their productivity would go through the roof. They'd be motivated outside their brain because they don't want to lose what they've already got. Does that make sense?
Interesting.
Like men in their 40s and 50s, like 40s, get depressed because like they haven't maybe achieved the goals that they wanted, or they've had kids, and it's like, what was the point of all of this? You know what I mean? Like, my wife is beating me around the house. She's the one who chooses everything. We're in debt because she wanted this huge house, which I didn't want. Blah, 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 blah. It's like guys who are living in monogamous marriages where the woman is not attracted to him because that's what happens. Oh, well, who cares about the in love and infatuation stage? No, it's true love is the one that you have to work at. That's bullshit. Because guys want to be adored and have women in their lives who are massively in love with them. Why do you think people cheat on each other? It's because, oh, finally, in love is back. Infatuation is back. I feel it again. This is why women divorce guys. Because they want to feel that passion, that love, and the sex outside of marriage, because it's forbidden, is better than the sex she's having in the marriage. And it's new, it's fresh, it's novel, do you understand what I mean? Like, this is what monogamy creates. And monogamy is failing the people. Like, in half of the marriages get a divorce. And we're not including the emotional divorce of those that stay in those marriages. Which means that majority of time, massive majority of time, monogamy does not work. And this is the only reason why we looked into all of this and dug deep, because we were religious. I had to leave my religion because of this. Because I understood that they are preaching monogamy and there's nothing else than monogamy. And I basically had to say, you know what? You don't understand women. You haven't gone down the red pill. You haven't gone through the manosphere to understand women's hypergamous nature. You haven't understood how women are designed. Because if you knew, then you wouldn't be preaching what you're preaching.
I was actually going to ask you about that too, about the religious thing, because I was thinking like how, you would think that if that is truly the inherent design, then wouldn't there have been like more women besides Eve with Adam? You know what I mean?
That's what they say, but how do we know that? Like, yes, it's in the Bible. Yes, that's the story we receive. But we also understand that story, it wasn't like God wrote the Bible and wrote Adam and Eve did this in the garden and da da da. This was a story that was told over many, many, many generations. And that's what we know today because of the Bible is written down. And the other aspect of it is that in AD 325, the Nicene Creed, people put the Bible together. And at that moment in time, there was tons of polygamy going on. But Constantine, the emperor, put together the Bible, basically, with his Nicene Creed. And they chose what was included and what was not. So, and there's also been multiple translations. We don't even know, like, tons of stuff is inspired in the Bible. Absolutely. Like, I would say 90-95% is absolutely amazing. But they didn't understand the woman back then. The only reason why we understand the woman today is because of the internet, because of technology. That's what allows us to see thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of case studies of how women truly feel about things. In the past, it was all a bunch of secrets. In the past, women had to shut up about their escapades and about their thoughts and feelings and what was truly going on in their hearts and in their minds, because they'd be killed, they'd be beaten, all that stuff that happened in the past. And now we've come to a point finally where women are free, and now we can actually understand what they're saying and what's happening. Understand the woman, and you will understand the world.
Yeah, I mean, I love that quote. I think like I said, it's very interesting to hear your perspective. It's a very interesting conversation. I'm not fully convinced by it, but it's interesting. Definitely.
And you don't have to be. I don't expect you to be either. I love talking about different crazy stuff with you though, like, because you are such an open-minded person, and the fact that you're open-minded makes it so that it's possible to discuss things, if that makes sense. Like
Well, yeah,
if
I agree with everything you say, but I love having the conversations. I love to hear. I love to talk to people who I don't fully understand, because then you get to learn something, you know?
Absolutely. And everyone has a story and something to share, you know what I mean? Like, the more ideas we hear, the better we can figure out the problems to our solutions, the solutions to our problems. And I think what you're doing with your channel is absolutely amazing. Like, you are
Thank you.
doing so much good in helping guys to get away from porn, overcome their feminine issues, if I can call it that.
Thank you very much. I
And
appreciate it.
yeah, helping guys to become more masculine. I mean, that's what the world is all about.
Well,
To
it is very funny how it's like, I was having a conversation about this with one of my friends. It's like how I, as a woman, almost had the same experience that men go through with porn, where I don't know, it's just interesting to see how, because I guess based on what you're saying about your philosophy, it seems like maybe the porn put me in a more masculine mindset somehow. I mean, well, you said I know that it's more feminine, but maybe for women it has the opposite effect, where like maybe it puts them more in touch with masculinity, where then I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. Remember, it's always opposite. Like,
Hmm.
what for men and women, like, addiction for men makes them feminine because it makes them addicted, not able to think big or not able to perform action, like, and while for women, masculinity puts them in the state of somberness and low energy, and like can't perform. Like, you understand what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
femininity is if you're bubbly, excited, and all around, and happy, and doing right.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, you
yeah.
know what I mean.
Sure, that's interesting. I've been delving more into the Bible and stuff, and I wouldn't call myself a
Yeah.
Christian, but I've definitely been curious about it, and I've been learning more about
Awesome.
it and everything. So
Amazing
it's
book.
yeah, so it's interesting to hear the ideas you're talking about compared to what the Bible kind of, like you said, talks about monogamy, and it has certain monogamous values, I guess, that it promotes and everything.
It also does talk about multiple women, though, doesn't it?
Maybe, I don't know. I guess I don't know. I haven't read it all or anything, but
Okay. Well, no, it was a big aspect of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob.
interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, I loved having this conversation with you. I'm looking forward to many more.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, me too.